communist country, I will assume that you've heard about NikkieTutorials coming out videos, so I don't have to give you much context. In short, Nikkie is this big-ass Dutch YouTuber who has 13 million subscribers and she does makeup tutorials videos. And recently she came out as transgender. It's a trap! I'm sorry, I just couldn't resist it. She came out under some rather nasty circumstances. She was blackmailed into it.
I have been blackmailed by people that wanted to leak my story to the press. So to the people who tried to blackmail me and thought they could really mess up my life with that, this one's for you.
Whoever did that to her is a total piece of shit, absolutely. And I think most people would agree that blackmailing others is a really shitty thing to do. However, Nikkie herself also got some backlash and criticism over the fact that her boyfriend, her fiance in fact, learned about the fact she's transgender with the rest of the internet. Hello darkness, my old friend. Now in her video, Nikkie explained her reasoning for doing that to her boyfriend.
So Dylan and I, we clicked, and he didn't know. He knows now. Dylan knows about my past, but I wish I told him sooner. Everything felt so magical, so good, that I was afraid to lose him if I would tell my full story.
Okay, I understand the criticism that Nikkie is getting for keeping her boyfriend in the dark about something like that, but you know what? I can also relate to Nikkie because, believe it or not, I am also transgender. No way! When you're a fishy queen like Nikkie, or moi, the boys, or even the girls, can't always tell that you are transgender. It happens. It happened to me numerous times. I've been there. I know how it is. And it's not always easy to tell your boyfriend or your girlfriend that you are trans. I understand that.
In my love life, it is flippin' scary, okay? Trusting someone enough to be truly you, flippin' scary.
I can relate to this so much. Alright folks, get your cringe protective gear ready because this is story time. About 3 years ago, I started dating this guy who was like everything. He was charming, he was good looking, he was tall, he was successful, he was
2 hours later.
Educated. I mean, everything that I like in a man, like everything. Now, we met on a dating website, so when I always create my profiles on dating websites, I always put the information that I'm trans. So when we met each other and we started dating, I assumed that he knew that because why the fuck wouldn't I? But in our like third date, he started sharing with me this really weird conversation that he had with a couple of co-workers who were from Brazil, which happens to be where I'm from. And they told him that one of the reasons why they left Brazil is because dating in Brazil was getting kind of weird because often you would think you were dating a pretty girl and she turns out to be a man. And I'm sitting next to him in a car and I'm like, why the fuck are you telling me this shit? What is wrong with you? And then I look at him and he's actually pretty casual about it. So I started realizing, holy fuck, this guy has no fucking clue.
Haha, you fool! You fell victim to one of the classic blunders.
Now this wasn't the first time that something like that happened to me. It had happened to me before, but I really liked this guy and I didn't want to blow the chance of having a relationship with him, so I decided to kind of test him. So I decided to ask him what did he think about that, you know, about what his co-workers had said, and he replied something like, oh, you know, people do whatever they want with their lives, it's none of my business, I don't judge. And I'm just like, oh my god, this guy is so amazing, I want to have like 10 kids with him. So I decided to keep the information that I'm trans to myself. So we kept seeing each other every day pretty much, and we were texting each other all the fucking time. It was so intense, and after a couple of weeks we decided that we were going to have sex for the first time. We wanted to make something special, we wanted to do it in a hotel room, so I decided to book the hotel room because I didn't want him to spend any money with that. The night before we were supposed to check in this hotel, I decided, okay, I have to tell him now. So we went out, we had fun, and when he dropped me home, I was like, okay, baby, there is something I need to tell you. I am transsexual. And he was like, okay, I don't mind. Oh, if you like girls too, I don't care. And I'm like, no, baby, I don't mean I'm bisexual. I mean I'm transsexual. So I used to be a boy. He was perplexed, incredulous, and honestly took him a few seconds to really understand what the hell I was saying. And after he did, he of course asked me about my equipment, and I had to tell him the truth, and he wasn't very happy about that. I just burst out crying. I was inconsolable, and I was feeling really embarrassed about myself. But he was very sweet. He hugged me, he tried to calm me down, and he said, oh, I can't see you as anything other than a woman, but this is not something I can do. I'm sorry. And you know, I have to respect that. If he doesn't want to date me because of that, for a number of reasons, and it could be just the fact that he doesn't fucking want it, he's not attracted to that, I had to respect that. It's his choice. Now, of course, he was tough. He was really hard. When I got inside the house, honestly, I just wanted to grab a knife and cut that part of my body. I just want it out because it was the only time in my entire life that I really thought about hurting myself, because that's how much I wanted that relationship to work. But I didn't hurt myself. In fact, I called my mom and she calmed me down, and I'm very happy that I have a mom who I can talk to about this stuff. And you know, it was difficult, but I eventually got over that. I understand that people might say it was very selfish of me not telling him about the fact that I'm trans when I realized he didn't know. I understand that. But on the other hand, I really wanted that relationship to work, and I thought if we keep going out a little longer, I have more chances of convincing him to have a relationship with me. I know I did something that is not right, but when you are in that situation, you don't really think rationally. In the matters of love, you don't think rationally. So at some level, I understand Nikki when she says this in her video.
Dylan is a very special guy. Our relationship moved so fast. I wait until I tell my full story, until I know I'm in good hands, because people out there are scary and dangerous.
On the other hand though, Nick is keeping this guy in the dark after agreeing to fucking marry him. I think she should have been transparent with her boyfriend about that before she accepted to marry him.
I am me. We don't need labels. If we are gonna put a label on it, yes, I am transgender. You don't wanna be known for that single part of your life.
Being trans doesn't define you, but it's an important part of who you are. It's not relevant to your coworkers, to your friends, but it is relevant to your fucking husband-to-be. So in my view, what she did was wrong, understandable, and like I said, I can relate to that, but it's still wrong. One important thing about Nikki though is that she's post-op, or at least she makes me believe that based on her video.
And by the time I was 19, I fully transitioned.
So, she's not packing a Glock down there anymore. Now, when you're post-op, I understand that it's different. I think you don't have to tell your boyfriend or girlfriend up front. I think you can build a strong relationship with them first before you decide to disclose that information with them. I think that's fair. It's a whole different story though when you are pre-op. I think in that circumstance, it's fair that you tell the person you are dating that you are trans before you decide to get naked in front of them. If you date online, it's rather easy. You just put the information there and anyone can see it. I don't put the information if I'm pre-op or post-op, and I'm not going to tell you, but the information that I'm trans is there. And if the person wants to know, we can talk about it later in a conversation. If I want to sleep with them, then I will talk to them about that. And if you put that information there and the boy you're dating misses it, you covered yourself. And if he can point it out to you later that you're tricking him, you can say, no bitch, the information is there, It's your fault you didn't see it. Now, I've been to a situation when I was in bed with this guy and I was like wearing nothing but my knickers and he didn't know. I think I'm gonna regret making this video. Just before I took it off, I realized that he was completely clueless about it. It was embarrassing, but oh boy, it could have been way worse. But after I showed him the dating profile, he had to admit it was his fault. I did my part. I put the information there. He didn't see it. So it's not only the right thing to do, but it's also a way of self-preservation. Online dating is the easiest one because you exchange a lot of information before you even meet the guy. But what about if you meet someone in a club? It's a whole different story. It's like you're in a club dancing and then you see a hot guy, you start flirting with him and he approaches you, you start talking, and then when you're about to make out, you just go, honey, it is morally imperative that before you stick your tongue in my mouth, I make you aware of the fact that I have a cock. In my opinion, and maybe I'm wrong, I think that would kill the mood. So you start making out with the guy. And what if he sneakily put his hands down there and feels your Glock? And yes, that happened to me. If something like that happens, there are two possible outcomes. One, you are definitely getting laid, or you will never ever going to hear from this guy again. In all seriousness though, I know that sometimes guys can get violent. There's not much you can do in these situations except take steps to minimize the risks. So I just never ever going to meet someone in private without letting them know beforehand that I am trans. You just never know if the guy that you are talking to can do something violent to you, and that's the reality of being a woman. Violent people exist, and when you are alone with them, there is really not much you can do. So the best thing we can do in the real world is to take steps to minimize the risks. Now, it would be great if violent people didn't exist and if they always get punished and we can always be safe, but the truth, the real world, is not like that. And I'm of course in no way suggesting that violence is somehow justifiable or that is the woman's or the trans woman's fault for the guy assaulting them. Absolutely fucking not. The last thing I want to address before I finish this video is a trend that exists among some trans people, especially on the internet, that expecting trans people to disclose to their boyfriends, girlfriends, etc. the information that they are trans is transphobic. If you truly believe that, you are a moron. Honestly, you have the emotional intelligence of a pea and you don't understand how human interactions work. When we meet people, especially when it comes to dating, we make assumptions about people, and if you are a passing pre-op trans person, the person you're dating is gonna have certain expectations about having sex with you, about maybe having kids with you. When your body don't meet those expectations, there's going to be disappointment, and that can lead to unnecessary conflict, unnecessary pain, unnecessary embarrassment, when all you had to do is to be honest and tell them up front or as soon as possible. And if you are a cis person and you say, oh, but I wouldn't mind it, that's good for you. Bravo. That's great. But you can't expect people to be all the same. I'm sorry. People are different and people will react differently. I used to be insecure though. I used to have problems telling people that I was trans because I was a little bit embarrassed of the fact that I was transgender. But after going through everything that I told you in this video, I learned the hard way that it is much better. You're gonna save yourself so much trouble if you're just honest. And I think people who have these issues with telling people that they are trans are mostly insecure. That's how I feel about that. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, share it, subscribe to my channel if you'd like this video. A big thank you to my subscribers, and of course an ultra massive thank you to my patrons, especially Steven, Joe, Michael, and Veronica. You've been supporting me for 6 months now, and you're absolute legends. Thank you so much. I've been Sarah Michel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.